Good evening. Doha defiant, sovereignty struck, solidarity forged. Arab-Islamic leaders unite, not just to condemn Israel's audacious strike, but to redraw red lines, revive mediation, and demand justice where silence once ruled. Gaza burns, Geneva speaks. UN experts sound alarm as global pressure mounts, from Qatar strikes to UK arms probes, while Israel vows relentless force amid soaring calls for sanctions and urgent UN debates. The world is watching.
And we did so in Qatar, which gives safe haven.
إرهاب دولة
عدوان الإجرامي territorial integrity of Qatar.
حجم الخطر كبير.
ونحن نرفض وندين.
هذه جريمة النكراء.
I will say this, we want to have
Egyptian President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi has delivered a strong message at the emergency Arab-Islamic summit in Doha, warning that Israel's aggressive policies are fueling regional instability and undermining mediation efforts. He firmly rejected any attempts to displace Palestinians, calling it a dangerous escalation that would widen the conflict. El-Sisi also reiterated Egypt's unwavering support for Qatar following the recent Israeli strike in Doha, stating that such aggression crosses all red lines and violates international law. Military solutions will not bring security to any party, El-Sisi said, urging the international community to act against Israeli violations. He stressed the need to support the resilience of the Palestinian people and safeguard regional peace. Qatar's Emir Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani condemned Israel's airstrike in Doha as a cowardly act of aggression, accusing it of targeting negotiators involved in ceasefire talks. Speaking at the emergency Arab-Islamic summit, the Emir revealed that Hamas was reviewing a US-backed proposal when the attack occurred, questioning Israel's motives. "If you want negotiations, why assassinate the negotiators?" he said. He stressed that Qatar, along with Egypt and the United States, was making real progress towards ending the war in Gaza and securing hostage releases. The Emir warned that Israel's continued aggression shows intransigence and a blatant disregard for peace efforts, adding, Iraqi Prime Minister Mohammed Shia al-Sudani has called for a NATO-style collective security mechanism among Arab and Islamic nations, where an attack on any member state is regarded as an aggression against all. Speaking at the emergency Arab-Islamic summit in Doha, al-Sudani emphasized that the security of Arab and Islamic countries is indivisible, urging the formation of a joint committee to represent the unified stance at the UN Security Council. He condemned the Israeli strike on Qatar as a grave violation of humanitarian norms, warning that continued Israeli actions would further destabilize the region. He also called for a clear, unified Arab-Islamic response and a comprehensive roadmap for a ceasefire. Also at the emergency Arab-Islamic summit in Doha, Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas expressed solidarity with Qatar in confronting the recent brutal Israeli aggression. He called for strong deterrent measures to prevent future aggressions and stated that Israel cannot be a partner in regional security and stability. Abbas also praised the efforts of Egypt and Qatar in working towards peace and security in the region. For more on the situation in Gaza and the summit in Doha, joining us from Paris is Dr. Mejid Bouden, who is an international law professor. Thank you very much for being here with us. Now, Qatar called the strike an attack on mediation itself. So if peacemakers and the mediators are targets, who is going to negotiate?
No one, because Israel doesn't want to negotiate. And
whomever are the messengers for the negotiations under international law and the practice international law is to give at least a provisional immunity to the negotiators to be able to make a progress toward peace or toward a ceasefire or settlement or whatever the target. So the fact that they attack the negotiators is really a signal that they don't want to negotiate. And it doesn't have to do whom are the negotiators. The fact to attack a negotiator, whomever are the negotiators, is just an evidence that Israel, Netanyahu, they don't want to negotiate. And this is not acceptable. At least it shows the real intentions. But this is a signal. Attacking this negotiators or killing other people, it's a signal. The fact is now Netanyahu is thinking that he can do whatever he wishes, not only in Gaza, not only against civilians. Now he's attacking sovereign states. He started after attacking Hamas, and he has reasons to attack Hamas as a retaliation under international law, which is allowed, but he has no reason to attack the civilians, the Palestinians, the civilian Palestinians. He attacked Hezbollah, and he has reason to attack Hezbollah as an armed force, but he doesn't have the right to attack Lebanese civilians. He attacked Syria, and he is not allowed to attack civilians. Now he is attacking another country who is not a belligerent against Israel, who has ties with Israel, he has cooperation, and it means that the trust is broken. And but what are the effective decisions now? Each country who has been attacked has the right to retaliate. Now, these countries, now there is a very important summit, Arab-Islamic summit. It should make a condemnation, fine. But after the condemnations, now how to put an end to the attacks by Netanyahu and how to rebuild trust. To rebuild trust, there are different ways. We have to be, the Arab countries must be treated as equal, and they have their sovereignty, they have strong power, they have political power, geostrategical power, they have economic power. They have to negotiate with the US and with Europe this steel dome, like Israel. When Israel was attacked by Iran, the US and France and neighboring countries, they have helped to avoid the missiles coming from Iran to hit Israel. Fine. And this is for the protection of Israel. The other Arab countries now, in the region, they must obtain from the US and from the Europeans this same protection than Israel to protect themselves against any attack like what happened.
Yes, that's a very good point, Professor Boone, I think. Whether it will happen is another matter, I guess. Now, the UN avoided naming Israel in its condemnation. So if international structures like the UN are flinching at times like this, could this Doha summit fill the gap?
Well, it's always important to see these big gatherings, but and to see the declaration. It's very interesting and very important. But now the international community must come to practical measures. When the US is attacked, or when a European country is attacked, you see Ukraine is attacked, you have seen sanctions, international sanctions. Now the countries in the region, they must take sanctions against Israel and against the Netanyahu government. The Arab countries, they have a lot of funds invested in the world, around the world, which is a good thing for the development of their countries and of the world. But a lot of money, a lot of these monies are channeled directly or indirectly to support Israel economy. One of the things that these countries, they have been now attacked by Netanyahu. They must retaliate on this level and take the measures to make the necessary compliance and monitoring to not allow their funds to finance the Israeli economy, whatever, and to keep their cooperation with the other countries in the world, but to take these sanctions against Netanyahu government, so the Israeli people will see that Netanyahu is really driving their country into a very unacceptable situation for their interests.
Now, we have 65,000 dead in Gaza. We have a famine that has been declared, and still not much word from the UN, not as much as we should be getting. Is international law now just a theatre for the powerful to play in and ignore?
Well, international law was not designed for that. But the fact to not make application and full application and effective application of international law will change this as something which is not reliable. And the protection of the world is based on international law. So it's a crime by itself to not make application of international law. This is why we have to keep maintaining the pressure, the action to obtain application of international law on every case in the same way. So this is important. The trap that Netanyahu is playing here is to push people to not believe in international law, and then he will achieve his war by achieving the destruction in the mind of people that international law is useless. Now, to stop Netanyahu, the international community, each single state, each single people, each single person must stick to the application of international law and claim that international law must be effective, and international law must have consequences when it's violated. And by this only way that Netanyahu will fail, and he will be prosecuted, and we can put an end to these massacres of these innocent people.
Yeah.
Nobody in the world is accepting that. Israel and Netanyahu has lost the public opinion support, and now he must face the consequences of his acts. And the most important thing that the international community must keep its belief and its trust in international law, but in the application of international law.
Yes. It's very difficult, isn't it, to have that faith in international law when it isn't currently being applied equally when it comes to Israel. People do have their doubts, of course, Professor, don't they? Soudani, though, he's proposed something very interesting. An Arab NATO was proposed. You mentioned that European countries and the United States should defend Arab countries in the way that they defended Israel when under retaliation attack by Iran. But what about this idea of an Arab NATO? Legally, could a collective defense treaty work? Could it happen, do you think?
It can be. few decades ago, they have the OTAs, which is another military alliance in the Middle East. So this can be revived in another format, of course. The Arabs can unite with the Islamic countries. They can create this, but they can make an alliance with the NATO. There is Turkey, which is a member of the NATO. Other countries must be members of the NATO, and when they are attacked, NATO have to react. And the Article 5 of the NATO Charter. So the ways now to be protected from Israel has to be explored and has to be materialized. The ways are there, the means are there, there is a possibility, for the protection of the populations, of the different populations in the area, this is a need. So this is possible. It's a matter of will, of political will, and there are financial possibilities to do that. There are also political will. There are also a need for that. So this is possible. The dome, as experienced, which is it's efficient, at least 90% or 90 something percent. It is important. This must be negotiated with the allies of the Arab countries and the Islamic countries, the US and the European Union countries and the other allies. It's important to be part of the heart of the world and not be a peripheral relation. So this is important, and the Arab countries have this possibility. They have to play this card.
Well, Doha summit today, of course, uniting 57 nations, coming together just a few days after the attack on Qatar. Could this be a moment? Could this be significant? Would we, in the future, perhaps be remembering this day as the day that the Arab countries united?
It could be. It depends. The move is very important. The move is symbolic. It's a political manifestation. It must now lead to practical measures. Now, people, they need practical measures. The security of the Arab countries, they need practical measures. And they have the possibility to do it. And the moment is important. This is a momentum in the life of the region, and this possibility is there. It's on the table. It must materialize now.
And going to Gaza, UN experts calling Gaza now unlivable. Of course, people being driven out of their homes once again. Homes, shelters that they've been living in Gaza City, now been calls made to flee again. Famine, of course, killing many, including babies. What does international law say about this? And why aren't we hearing more about it?
It's a pity that this war is continuing, and this mass killing is continuing without a more practical reaction. The reaction is fine until now. It's not sufficient. And nobody wants that history will remember that the reactions are too small and too late, too little and too late. Now the international community needs to have a very strong reaction to make this stop and to save what remains. It's better to have it even late than never. But now it's becoming a shame. International community must react. The ways are there. The venues are open. They have to use it. The recognition of the Palestinian state will come in few days. It must not stay as a symbolic recognition. It must come to a real opportunity for the protection of the Palestinian people and for the a diplomatic solution and a political solution for this continuous problem. The possibilities are there. The states of the Arab world and of Islamic world are there. They have a huge responsibility. They have the ways to do it. And now acts are possible. And they have the possibility. And there are a lot of venues to do this, to protect their population. Because Netanyahu, if he will not feel that there is a strong, he's not facing a strong retaliation, he will continue. He will not stop. He has a messianic dream. He is going to start to make to divide all the countries and the areas. He has this dream to go from the Nile to the Euphrates. So he will never stop. When somebody doesn't see the limits, when we don't put limits in front of Netanyahu, he will not stop. He will act as without limits. Anybody in the world who doesn't have limits will continue. So limits are necessary, and limits must be strong and effective. And this summit is a good occasion to put these limits, and limits will start with sanctions and with protections.
So Israel is bombing sovereign states as it has done unprovoked attacks. Iran first, now Qatar as well, using starvation as a method of war, killing civilians, bombing hospitals and schools, stealing more land, and calls it self-defense. And lots of Western politicians and Western nations parrot this line as if they're robots. Israel has the right to defend itself. Surely the self-defense excuse won't wash with international law?
Of course, the self-defense is valid under international law, but it must be proportionate, and it must target the militaries of Hamas and of Hezbollah, but it must not target the civilians. The 65,000 people in Gaza are with the wounded, they are around 200,000, 250,000. It's 10% of the population of Gaza. It's an ethnic cleansing, it's a genocide, it's a crime against humanity, and of course it's a war crime. So this is not an excuse. The Arab countries, the Islamic countries, must find alliances within Israel and with the Jewish community around the world, because a lot of people in Israel, they don't accept what Netanyahu is doing. Netanyahu has a very narrow majority of 1 or 2 seats in the parliament. It can be overthrown with elections. It can, when there is an alliance with the Jews, that they have this will to live together with the Palestinians. With the Israelis, they want to have a peaceful settlement and an agreement to live together. There are a lot of Jews, they are willing to do that, and they must be supported to win the election there, to overturn the situation, and so the cooperation is possible. The ways are there. There is hope, and hope will be based on the preservation of rights, the protection of the civilians, and the protection of the rights of the Palestinians.
Well, thank you very much indeed for joining us. A pleasure to have you, as always, Dr. Majid Moudine, joining us from Paris, international law professor. Thank you very much. Now, we're going to be joined from Doha by the political science professor, Hani Al-Bassous, who's joining us now. Thank you very much for being on Q News with us. So what is your take today so far on this emergency Arab-Islamic summit in Doha? And do you think it could go some way to de-escalating the tensions in the region?
I think this summit comes in a time where a necessity comes into a question about the Palestinian situation and about the Israeli attacks, which has been in many cities in the Middle East. The main strike was last week in Doha. That was an escalation, was as unprecedented escalation, which was not accepted by all countries in the world. So this summit comes as a statement and as a message to the Israeli side that you should stop what you have been doing for the past 2 years, not only in Gaza, but in the whole Middle East. 7 countries in the Middle East were attacked by Israeli army for the past 2 years, and no action has been taken, whether legal action or military action. Even diplomacy was suspended somehow. So this summit, which is consisted of 57 states, Muslims and Arab states, come together to convey a message to Israel. You have to stop such kind of action and genocide in the Gaza Strip and stop attacking any other country in the Middle East. And at the same time condemning the Israeli action in Doha. And I think that Doha, why Doha? Because Qatar is the mediator in the peace negotiations between Hamas and Israel for the past 2 years, and achieving twice ceasefire and an exchange of Palestinian prisoners with Israeli hostages. So this country has been a peaceful country, has been playing as a mediator, and has been accepted by the United States and being even supported by the United States for the past many years in many cases. So that kind of escalation by the Israeli army constitute a threat to the region. That kind of escalation might be widened, and that can include other countries such as Egypt, Jordan, Iraq, and so on and so forth. So this is why the meeting or the summit came into life, to convey such a message to the Israeli side. You have to stop what you have been doing, otherwise we can take an action. No action has been taken. It's all about condemnation statements, but at the same time, activating what is called the collective security idea. The concept of collective security in the Middle East, that is something has been suspended for many, many years, which is needed now. So at least the basic, at least for the self-defense, where those countries can reactivate their own policy of security, cooperation, and alignment against the Israeli side.
And do you think this Doha summit could produce some surprising recommendations? We've seen already one of the delegates, Al-Sudani, suggested perhaps an Arab NATO. What can we expect to come out of this?
I don't think that an Arab NATO something would be feasible because of the different policies and ideas and levels of cooperation. This is not something can be feasible, but at least for the minimum, which I think the cooperation between Arab countries could be based on treatments and agreements were signed long ago in the Arab League and even the GCC, between the GCC countries. But calling for a NATO, this is not a new idea. It's a NATO for Arab countries. This is an old idea, has been coming back again and again, but no willingness to do so is not something could be accepted by every country because of the differences in terms of politics and policy and the as well the ability of trying to form such an army where every country have to contribute in terms of personnel, officers, and money and finance. Is not something easy for every country to be able to engage.
Indeed. But could there be other surprising or unexpected parts of what comes out of today's meeting? Could we see something new?
Not much, at least for now. At least what we can see now is the statements, the speeches were made by every single leader. In addition, again, like the message of conveying such a summit to the Israeli side that you should stop and no action should be taken by the Israelis against any other country. Again, like could be the message to the United States that you have to be balanced, and every country in the GCC and many other countries in the region, such as Egypt and Jordan, everyone has bilateral cooperation with the United States and have defense agreements with the United States. Meanwhile, the United States has done nothing much to stop the Israeli actions in this region. So I think the second main message would be to United States, you have to stop Israeli actions and escalation in the Middle East. Otherwise, that we have to reconsider our allies or our cooperation with the United States, especially the United States consider the Middle East and specifically the GCC countries as a main source of power in terms of energy, such as gas and oil. And I don't think the United States will be able to sabotage any efforts made by those countries to be alive and safe. But at the same time, we can see that the United States has done much to support Israeli side by all means at the expense of those countries. But again, like what messages can come, whatever the statements has come, the statements have to be feasible. Like what action can be made.
Indeed, and we hope we hope to see something from it. I'm sorry to cut you off there, but we're just out of time. Hani El-Bassous, political science professor, joining us from Doha. Thank you very much indeed. Arab Nations united for one front line against any aggression. The security of all Arab states to the stability of all Arab nations. Our coverage will continue. Stay with us for more updates here on Q News. Thanks for watching and stay tuned.